Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good day, good morning, good whatever the time is where you're watching from. It is wonderful to be back. My name is Nathalie, and I'm an ex-photographer from Johannesburg, South Africa, and I am super excited to be here. Wherever you're watching from, it is wonderful for you to tune in. I'm super excited to be back again to our second episode of SOOC, our straight out of camera live streaming show. And we have a wonderful program for you this evening. I can't wait to get to the rump of the show where we will be looking at some images. In case you are tuning in for the first time, we launched our show last month and had a bit of an overview. I shared with you guys that I have a series called Tame Your Fujifilm, and the background behind it is really that I am very passionate about photography. And I want to get everyone involved to make shooting with your Fujifilm camera super easy and fun, and get you to shoot images rather than to edit them. And together with that, what I think works really, really well is that you use in-camera JPEGs, which are so absolutely beautiful in our Fujifilm cameras. And that brought me to looking a little bit closer into straight out of camera, which is where, paths met together with Ritchie from Fuji X Weekly. And I don't even want to talk any more about it without him being here, because he is here himself.
Hello, everyone.
Evening, Ritchie.
Hi, Nathalie.
Hello, Ritchie. It is super awesome to have you with us this evening. Well, in my evening. You must be on your second or fifth cup of coffee, I guess.
Yeah, I got my second one right here.
Second one, fantastic. So it's still morning by you. You are coming to us from Utah.
Yep.
How are things going in Utah this morning?
Oh, it's late summer. It's beautiful. The mountains are right outside. what I want to know is where everybody else is watching from. So if wherever you're viewing from, let us know in the comments. Type in where it is that you're tuning in from.
Yes, we had our last show last week and were quite overwhelmed. Everyone was tuning in from. Here we have Hamming Distance joining us aus der Pfalz, a countryman. Greetings to Germany. I've just come back from there. I had the privilege to spend a couple of weeks there with my sister. So I've also enjoyed a little bit of summer. Just like also, I think it's Jorge from Denver, Colorado.
So he gets to see the mountains too.
Thank you for joining us this evening. And who else have we got here? Who else is watching?
Randy from Tennessee. Hi, Randy.
And we have someone watching from California, from sunny California. It's Sahand Naibaziz.
So
my apologies for any names coming up that I might mispronounce. We're trying our best, Ritchie and I. I think we both also have names that are a little bit more challenging, so we understand. We have, I think it's Nick D joining us.
From Atlanta?
From Ritchie, where is this from?
Atlanta, Georgia, I believe. Yeah.
From Atlanta. Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining in. And all the way from the Czech Republic, we have
Hello.
Andre. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. And another countryman from Berlin. Hello, Eric. How are you doing this evening? This evening, yes, in your case. And Ritchie.
Melvin from New York. Hi, Melvin. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, and then we have a jet setter, Björn. Thank you for joining us. You're tuning in from Dubai, and you've just been in New York. Well,
that's
good
a big
for
trip.
you.
Yeah.
It's great to have you with us. And then we have Duve from the Netherlands.
That's a long distance.
We are really, and Oliver from Frankfurt. I like
Oliver.
where everyone's tuning in from. There is quite a lot of audience from Germany. That makes my heart very proud. I'm glad you're all tuning in. But someone from Peru, Grant, excellent. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's wonderful to have people from all over the world, even Canberra, Australia. Stuart Steely, thank you for joining us. And Chili from Joburg. It's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining the show tonight. And then we have Lorraine from Durban, another South African. Wonderful. Do we have the South Africans and the Germans? And then we have RJ from Canada. Thank you for tuning in. Well, and what do you know? Someone from Vietnam, Hoang Minh, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Well, what's the time in Vietnam at the moment? I think it's late.
It's got to be very late. Hello, Jay.
And then there's Jay from Indianapolis. That's fabulous. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. It is an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. I'm really sorry. I need to ask my backup crew if there's any chance that we can up Ritchie's volume because I'm really struggling to hear him. Okay. There we go. I think this is a little bit better. Thank you. All right. We want to make sure that this show is for you and is a platform for you to ask all the questions you want to ask and get all your answers, because we want you to familiarize yourselves with shooting straight out of camera, with the different recipes, with the beautiful recipes that Ritchie has created and made available on his wonderful blog, Fuji X Weekly. and he obviously he's got his YouTube channel, and he's on Facebook and on Instagram, and he's got this wonderful app that he's created, and we use these recipes to help you guys along and be on this journey together, where we can all try these different recipes and enjoy photography straight out of camera. If you've got any questions, please shoot them in the comments, and we will make sure to answer them. I will make sure that I push all the difficult questions over to Ritchie. I'll try and answer the easy ones.
Sounds good to me. Let's see what we can do. We're here to help you guys in the audience, and that's what this show is about. So don't hesitate to ask anything. We may not be able to get to it right away, but we'll try and answer all the questions.
Exactly. If we don't get to them right away, we will make sure at the end of the show, towards the end of the show, we have some more time to also really get into the nitty-gritty bits. So if we don't get to answer your questions during the show, don't worry. We'll get to them a little bit later. We've got a few questions that came through, in the last show, but also throughout, us working with the recipes and through the different communities where people ask questions. So we pointed out a few that we thought we wanted to discuss in detail. And the first question, as you see on the screen here, is, should I still shoot RAW? Because we're talking all about JPEGs. What about the good old RAW file? Do we still want it? Or what's happening to it? Can I shoot that over to you, Ritchie, to start off with?
So it's perfectly fine to shoot RAW. I shoot RAW plus JPEG. There was a time for about a year that I didn't shoot RAW, and I just shot JPEG and focused on that. And it was a good experience, but what I found is sometimes I did want that RAW file to reprocess in camera or to use for another purpose. And so I think it's fine to keep it. And I think it's good to keep it as a backup, even if you don't ever really use it. So for me, I usually keep the RAW files for a period of time. Might be a few months, and then I'll end up deleting them. I don't keep them full time because that's a lot of storage, and I just want to avoid that. But that's just me personally. Everybody's different. There's no right or wrong way to do it. So if you want to shoot RAW, shoot RAW. If you want to shoot JPEG, shoot JPEG. My personal recommendation is RAW plus JPEG, and that works for me really well. You'll have to find what works best for you and your photography, since everybody's situation is different.
Yeah, that's a very good point, where I would like to just add in, everything that we are talking about here is just recommendations. We don't have the authority on any of this. It's Ritchie obviously has a long history in working with shooting straight out of camera and with JPEGs. But you can experiment with it, and you journey along, and you find that way that works best for you. The idea, obviously, behind these recipes is that you shoot JPEG because we want those JPEGs that the camera produces, because they will look the best. But if you feel you still want to keep your options open and you want to do other things, or you want to experiment, then you keep your RAW files. And I must tell you, Ritchie, it was now one of these last shoots where for the first time I also shoot RAW and JPEG, and I deleted my RAW files, and it was just like, it was such a eureka moment for me. I really enjoyed it a lot. I'm like, buy all that data. I love you, JPEGs. It was liberating. It was really
it's nice. A lot of storage when you just over years of compounding images, by the time you have 10,000 RAW files stored on a computer somewhere, that's a lot. And it's like, what are you going to do with them? Maybe someday later you might reprocess them or rethink them. But, I like not having that restriction, that data usage, all that memory being taken up. The JPEGs take up a lot less space. They're so much quicker to deal with when it comes to, electronics and stuff. So for me, I leave the RAW files on the SD card, and then, when the SD card gets full, I will just erase them all, erase everything, start fresh. And so I, usually keep the raw files just for that long, as long as it takes to get the memory card full. And that's it. And it can be kind of a scary experience the first time you erase everything, that's on there, but it's also kind of liberating too.
Yes, definitely. It's worth an experience. I can only recommend it. Okay, on to our next question. We have people have asked, how can they set a white balance shift in cameras where this is not possible to be done in the custom settings? So some of Ritchie's recipes ask for a white balance shift to be set, and the especially the older model cameras do not allow for that to be saved in your C1 to C7 custom menus. And Ritchie will enlighten us, and we will show you how you can compensate for that, or how you can deal with that if you are, for example, working with an X-T2, which is the sample camera that we will be using to show you.
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest things, and I'm glad Fujifilm fixed it, starting with the X Pro 3. So if you have an X Pro 3 or newer, you can save the white balance shift with each custom preset. But if the camera is older than that, you can't. And so there's a couple of different strategies in order to do this. One is that the camera will remember one white balance shift per white balance. So if each of the C1 through C7 custom presets, if each one uses a different white balance, one uses auto, another uses daylight, another one uses fluorescent 1, another one uses a Kelvin value, and so on. If each of the 7 uses a different white balance, then the camera will remember the shift for each one. So that's most ideal, but it's also most limiting because there's a lot of recipes only have 1 or 2 options for each of those settings. Auto and daylight are probably the most common, as well as Kelvin. So if you have like 3 recipes that are your favorites that all use daylight white balance, for example, then you have to choose just which one you like. The other thing is if 2 share the same white balance and white balance shift, obviously you can do that. There's a few that are like that, but a lot of times that solution doesn't work for a lot of people. So the way to do it, if you want to bring back that camera view, if you go into the custom settings for those cameras that have the ability to name them, you can go in and put the white balance shift into the custom name so that you remember. So if you want to bring that back up, Natalie, we can take a look at that.
Oh, okay, we've got a question here from Björn, who's asking, never once allow custom white balance, I believe. Sorry, there's a typo. Newer ones allow custom white balance. I believe it's the X100V, the XS10, and the XE4. Yes, I think that is correct. And the X Pro 3.
Yeah, so you in the X Pro 3, XT4, X100V, XS10, XE4, you can save the white balance and the white balance shift into each custom preset. And the cameras that are older than that, you can't. There is in all the cameras, there is a custom white balance option. There's usually 3, but those are a custom measurement. So you can do that if a recipe, for example, calls daylight. You could go out in a typical daylight situation, take a custom measurement, and that's going to be the same as using daylight. So you could do that, for example.
Okay. Björn obviously has got it figured out. He underlines what you just explained, that the white balance shift goes into the name of the recipe, which is then the reminder that you need to set the custom white balance.
Yes, and that's probably the best solution. That's the I think that's the easiest way to do it. And not every camera has that option to name the recipe or name the custom preset. Some of the older cameras don't have that, but for those cameras that do, so if you put the name and then you put R4B, M or whatever it is, whatever the, in the case of Kodachrome II, it would be R3, and you could do B-4, something like that. And that will remind you to change it whenever you change the white balance shift, whenever you change the recipe. And the other thing I found helpful is actually setting a custom button to pull up white balance. Some cameras have that kind of as a default, some don't. But if your camera doesn't have that as a default button, then setting a custom button to bring up white balance helps get to that changing the shift easier.
Okay. Should we show the viewers one of the options that they can go through on the XT2?
Sure.
Here?
So if you bring up the custom settings on here, for example, at the bottom of the IQ menu.
Okay, so I'm in the IQ menu, and then I select.
So edit, save custom settings.
Correct.
And so the other way you can get to this is if you hit the Q button, and it'll bring up the Q menu, and then you press and hold the Q button. It'll also bring up this menu just like this. So each of yours are set custom 1, custom 2, and so forth. So if you were to arrow over to the right, and let's say you set this up to how you wanted to save it, and then I believe at the bottom is how on this camera where it's at for setting the custom name. Edit custom name. And so if you put K64 or K2, because this is Kodachrome II, let's say you set Kodachrome II up, you put K2, and then you could do space. So the arrow to the right. Oh yeah, right there.
Based on how quick I can type on this keyboard.
So then you could do R. You could do R3. And then B. Oops. Dash. Or you could use M instead of dash, but dash is probably a good one. Dash and 4.
Okay. So just for people who are new to this means that your Kodachrome II, this is the Kodachrome II recipe that we are discussing this month. And this would remind you that your reds must be set to +3 and your blues must be set to -4.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then when you hit set.
And then we hit set.
And then you hit the back button to save it. Hit OK. And then there it is. And then you have that reminder of what you need to change the white balance shift to.
Fantastic. I like that.
And for the cameras that you can't name it, then you can always reference whenever you change recipes. You can always pull out the Fuji X Weekly app, find the recipe in there, and reference it that way. That's an alternative option.
Okay. We will show something else on the app just now. So then we'll go in there and we can also show that option in the app. Okay, fantastic. Are there any questions to that from the audience, or does that make sense the way we've gone through this? Were we too quick, too slow?
Most ideal is that you have one of the newest cameras, obviously, that can save it. And, and I do hope that maybe Fujifilm does offer a firmware update in the future for some of the older models to add that ability. That would be absolutely wonderful if they did that.
Yes, please, Fujifilm, if you are listening. We're asking pretty please.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a question from Duvet. The person is asking, maybe Fujifilm is watching as well. Do you think classic negative will come to the XT3? I think we're all hoping. Maybe we can all group together and send group vibes into the universe. And maybe they will land in Tokyo. Who knows?
Yeah, it's been rumored for a couple of years now, I think, that it would come, but it hasn't. And right now, and kind of what I've heard is that Fujifilm has had so many new cameras come out that they've kind of focused their attention. The team that does the firmware updates is the same team that programs the new cameras. So their resources were drawn to programming the new cameras. But now that there's a little bit of a break in new cameras, I'm hoping that they'll have a little more time to focus on firmware updates, and maybe before the newest camera comes out, maybe they'll be able to put that update in there and get the classic negative to the XT3 and XT30, which both really deserve it.
That would be absolutely fabulous. Well, I hope you are right, and I hope your sources are correct. There's some love coming to
that's
to
my wife.
Fuji X Weekly. Good support. Thank you for tuning in, Amanda. It's wonderful to virtually meet you. And then we have Nick, who says, I have found that if you use a color card to set your custom white balance based on the lighting condition makes a difference. I use that with the recipe.
Yeah, that's a good solution. A little more technical, but you can use a card to do a measurement to change make the custom white balance be the same as a different white balance that might be calling for. So the custom measurement can then match the white balance that the recipe calls for. If it's something other than auto, that's a way to do it.
Yes. Fabulous. And then we have RP, who says, any timeline on allowing the app to store personal recipes?
Ooh, that's a great question. So that's in the works. There's a great update that's going to be coming. I have a few different projects that I'm working on that will be great for the Fujifilm community, will be great for the photography community. And hopefully, I'm really hoping before the end of the year, maybe sometime in the fall, to get the next update out on the app. And it'll bring some great functionality, some really cool new tools and features. And having like a blank recipe card is that you can plug in your own settings on is definitely in the works. It's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to bringing to the app.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. I can't wait. Just like I'm sure so many others. We love updates.
And I'm working on actually what I think is really great is I'm working on the ability to be able to even take those those custom recipes that somebody programs in with their blank card and be able to take that file and download it and share it with somebody else who has the app. And then, if somebody else wants to use that recipe that somebody else created, they could do that. Fabulous.
Excellent. So, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Sanchez, who's tuning in from Moscow. Thank you. That's an unusual place. I'm very happy that you are tuning in. It's absolutely, I want to say again, it's absolutely wonderful to be speaking to. It feels like we're speaking to the whole world. So that's absolutely
the whole world.
Fantastic.
And what's amazing is that some places it's nighttime. It's pretty darn late. And some of these places, I'm sure it's pretty late in Moscow right now. And for people to stay up and give up a little bit of rest to tune in is that's an honor. I mean, that's a real honor.
Yes, absolutely. It definitely is. So here's a question that I have also been trying to wrap my head around, if I can be that straightforward. How do I know which recipe I shot a certain JPEG in? So it's all great that we get excited, we load a recipe, we start shooting, and next time around we go. And then the next time around, and we shot a couple of times, and then we download the pictures, and maybe we've changed recipes here, there, and everywhere because we're just so happy to use these recipes, and we love them all. And then we're like, oh, golly gosh, I don't remember which was this recipe and that recipe. Because once you've downloaded them onto your computer, or you transferred them with the app to your phone, it's not necessarily so straightforward anymore to know which recipe you've used if you're not tuned in with your eyes as well as Ritchie is.
Well, and I've had that problem before where I had two recipes that produce like very similar results, and I used both on a trip, and I got back and I'm like, well, wait, which one's which? I'm not 100% sure. There's a few different strategies for this, and one that I've kind of applied to myself is that I try not to use, even though you can save 7 recipes, C1 through C7 on your camera, is to not use all 7 while you're out photographing. You pick maybe 3 that you really like and use those 3 or 2 or 4 or however many, but it makes it a lot easier to keep track that way. The other thing is in your camera, when you hit the play button and you're viewing an image, if you arrow up, it'll display all the settings that were used for that picture. So you can, it doesn't tell you what the custom preset was that you used, but you can look at it and see all the settings and then deduce which recipe it was based off of that. Yeah. Another great way is, back when, we shot a lot of film way back then, it was very common to keep field notes. You'd have a little journal or piece of paper or something. You would write down, what aperture you used, shutter speed, maybe the time of day and all that kind of stuff for each shot, because the camera didn't record it. The film didn't record that information. So if you wanted that information, you had to write it down. And so within the app, there's a notes field underneath every recipe. So a great way to keep track is to use the notes. So you can click in there, you can type what day it was, even what time, what frames you captured, and just type it all in. And that's a great way to keep track. Not just of what recipe you use, but any information that you want to record, you can type in there.
Yes. While Ritchie is speaking here, I'm having fun on the live screen on my phone. So if I can just have that big again in the screen. So this is the app here. This is from my phone directly. This is the Kodachrome II recipe. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there you see a notes field. And this is where you can write down what images you shot, what day, probably before you head out, and then you can make all the notes that you like. Tutaj says, for me, 7 slots is definitely not enough. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with you. I wanted to add to this, though, because Ritchie made a very good point right at the beginning, and that was that you should limit yourself, even though you have 7 recipes that you can load at a time, or maybe other people would like to add a few more. And this is kind of the basis of the show, is that we're looking at 1 recipe at a time, especially in the beginning. If you're not familiar with shooting straight out of camera, or if you're not familiar with different recipes, that you get tuned in, you get used to it, and you shoot with 1 recipe at a time to also understand what this recipe is really good for, what it lends itself, where it shines the most, and then to slowly get a feel for which situations you like what recipes in. And that way it will also get a lot easier to keep a handle on what recipe you used with your shots. Something that I tried in the very beginning, and it works for me because I'm not very good with writing notes. I wasn't when I was shooting film. I never knew what I'd done after I received my rolls back. And so I'm going to definitely try this notes, but I would always take a photograph of the recipe before I start shooting, or in the middle when I forgot right in the beginning because I was too excited and I started shooting, and then I forgot that I actually wanted to take a reference shot. But this is what I've been doing, and
and that's a
different
great method
strokes for different folks. That
you take
works.
before you take the first picture, you make the first picture a picture of the recipe, like on the app, and then from that point until the next shot of whatever the next recipe is, that you use that one.
Yes, correct. So that that definitely works for me. So you have a few different ones to choose from, and you can definitely make use of the app in many different ways. On to our next question. People are asking, because we're talking about shooting straight out of camera, because we, do people think, can we now not edit those pictures anymore? And so the question is, do we still edit JPEGs straight out of camera? If we, what can we edit? Is it then still straight out of camera? Is it not? Is it important that it is straight out of camera? Do you want to maybe start off with this one, Ritchie?
Sure. So, you got to find what works for you and your photography. There's no right or wrong way. And there's different methods, and there's not one that's better than the other, just what works for you. For me, I don't edit the pictures other than cropping, as 95 or more % of the time. That's all it is my editing is a minor crop or tilt or something like that. And then it's straight out of camera otherwise. It's not wrong to edit the JPEGs. There's actually quite a bit of latitude within the JPEGs, a lot more than people realize. There's people who do that. Valandez recently posted a video where he was using the Portrait 400 recipe, and then he was going in to, I forget if it was Lightroom or Capture One, and he was making some small edits to make it more like exactly how he wanted it. And my wife is another example of this. She will shoot with a recipe or some JPEG settings, and then she'll take the JPEGs and put it into Capture One and do some minor tweaking that way. So it's perfectly fine to edit the JPEGs, and there's a lot of room for editing the JPEGs. They hold up pretty well. And if that works for you, that's what you should do. But for me, I prefer the freedom of not editing the JPEGs because it makes me so much more productive not sitting in front of a computer. I prefer not to sit in front of a computer if I don't have to. And it just saves me so much time. I'm able to spend that with my family. I just lost the video. Hold on a second.
You went all test pattern on us. Sorry, Ritchie. We can still hear you, but the picture's back.
I can't. I was shooting this on sorry, I got to apologize for this. So I was using an XE4, and I guess it overheated. So I got to let it rest a little bit. I'm using just the regular FaceTime camera, which isn't the best quality. But what I was saying is that if and now you can see my Fujifilm shirt that I've been wearing.
So there is an upside to everything.
There is an upside. So hopefully the camera cools off a little bit, and I can turn it back on, and then you will get the better video quality. But you got to find what works for you. And for me, I prefer the straight out camera JPEGs because it saves me time, and I find the process to be more enjoyable for me. But that doesn't mean that that's what's best for you. So if you want to edit the JPEGs, then by all means, go ahead and do that. If you don't want to, which is my preferred method, then don't. And I think you'll find it saves you a lot of time, and it'll allow you to be more productive, allow you to have more time with your family, allow you more time to take more pictures, that kind of stuff. So just whatever works for you.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's very important. Especially for me. I have 4 kids. I need to spend time with my wife. You can see the lens of the right there. Anyways, and I have a job, a day job. So my time is very limited, and I couldn't do all this if it wasn't for the straight out of camera JPEG.
Yeah. Yes, you do a lot of things all at the same time. We've got a question from Tutaj who's asking, do you think it's possible to mimic a Lomo purple style on Fuji cameras?
Oh, that's a great question. So I actually have tried, and I wasn't successful. I won't say that it's not possible, but it is a difficult one to try and replicate. And that's why I'm very happy to try again and see maybe a different approach would work better. But it is a tough one to get that to look right? Because it's almost it's not infrared, but it's almost has an infrared look to it. So it's kind of it's definitely a tougher one to mimic.
Yeah.
I appreciate the suggestion though. I'm always good looking for good suggestions.
Okay. There's a shout out from Paul. I'm sure he wrote this comment a little bit earlier on in the show. He's saying, looking forward to the show. Thank you so much, Paul. It's great to have you with us. He's asking, when it comes to recipes, are all cameras built equally, or do you find the results better on some over others? So I think Paul's asking if you use the same settings, are the JPEGs better in one camera over another?
So if you have cameras are generally in kind of like generations. So if you have the X-Trans 4, it generally is the same, although the XT3 and the XT30 kind of fall into their own category. They're kind of separate. So if you have X Pro 3 or newer up to the XE4, all of those, the quality that comes out of the camera is identical. There's not a difference. If the lenses were the same on them, you wouldn't be able to distinguish one from the other. And the same for like X-Trans 3. They all look the same. The XH1 is kind of in a slightly different category because it has Eterna, and the other ones don't. But aside from that, the options and the quality and everything, the look that you'll get out of the camera, everything being equal, would be the same. X-Trans 2, it's the same thing, but there are some models, especially the ones with the smaller sensors.
Ritchie, there's a question.
It was a gift from my wife, so I'm not 100% sure where you get the shirt from, but
she can start a merch line.
Yeah, gotta get that merch. So in the last show, and you couldn't see it because the camera worked the whole show, was that it was actually a Fuji X Weekly shirt that my wife had made, and she likes to do like that kind of stuff, and she actually kind of graphically designed it and printed it herself, and it was really amazing. And I kind of wish I was wearing that one today because it was so nice. But
we will do that in the next show. We will want to see it, so you'll have to show us in the next show.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can't get this to work now. So I'm gonna see if it's pulled off enough to.
While you're doing that, Ritchie, I'm just going to quickly let people in on what the show is actually all about, even though we've been talking for a long time already. But we just wanted to recap in case people haven't seen the first show. We wanted to let you know the thought behind our show is that we look at one recipe per month that Ritchie has created in his Fuji X Weekly blog. And we really work with it, we explain it, and then we ask everyone to work together to shoot with the image, with the recipe, and upload your favorite ones to a link that we share, so that we can then see what you come up with. We can exchange experiences, how everybody thought this recipe was, what they particularly liked, maybe struggles that people had. And so we can all grow together in this journey in creating fabulous JPEGs straight out of camera. And what I really want us to get to, because this is really the heart of the show, is that we look at images. There were a lot of you who uploaded images, and I hope everyone's watching. So we can have a look at what people created with the Kodachrome recipe, and then we can get to some question and answers later towards the end of the show. And obviously, not to forget that we have a lucky draw at the end of the show. If you want to, so sorry, Ritchie, I just wanted to quickly, before we get to the next slide, just remind people while this slide is on the screen, people can take a screenshot. This QR code takes you to the upload folder, and you have the link also shortened next to it, so you can keep that safe. This link will always stay the same, and you can every month upload your images to this folder, and then we can share them in the next show, and you stand a chance to win something. But I cut you off, Ritchie. You wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing what everybody has done with this recipe, and it's that's what I'm most excited about, I think.
Yes, I think so as well. So let's not delay this any further. We have been shooting with Kodachrome II for the last month. We discussed details about it last month. I also just want to quickly go through some of the images that Ritchie and I have shot, so that we can point out a few things that we particularly like about this recipe. So over to you, Ritchie. This is your image. Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's a simple, sign, and photography doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, sometimes when you make it more simple, you get a stronger image. And so it's a man with a bicycle above his head. I don't know what's going to happen with that bicycle, if he's thinking about it, or if it's about to fall on him or what, but I find it a little bit comical. But what I like about what the Kodachrome II recipe does is the blues. I mean, the blues are just so wonderful. And I guess the thing to remember about Kodachrome, the film, is that there was 3 real eras of it. It was the early era, the middle era, which is Kodachrome II, from roughly 1960 to the mid 1970s is when that film was around, and this recipe is meant to mimic that. And then there's Kodachrome 64, which is what a lot of us remember Kodachrome being, is that third era of it. So this is the second era. It's a slightly different than the newer era, but it just, the way it renders blues is so nice. So it's perfect if you have a sky that has got just some cyan in it, some good blue colors, and it really helps that to look wonderful.
Yeah, and we've got a few sky pictures coming up. Here's one of mine. It looks on the screen a little bit blown out in the clouds. I promise you the original isn't. But yeah, it's obviously not from here. I shot this while I was in Germany recently, and I just love the blues in the sky and greens, and how it just renders these kinds of images. Is just absolutely wonderful. So I really enjoy that.
So this one is just a very simple picture of contrast, and that's essentially the picture's about light, and there really isn't anything else in there that is the subject. But the recipe's got like really great contrast to it. So if you have a dramatic lighting situation, it's a good one to choose. And that's what I think this picture demonstrates.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, this image, I really like the colors. So all the tones are really subdued, and they are so moody, and I really, really enjoy that about this recipe. And and I chose this picture also because it just shows that it's a common scene in the kitchen. There's nothing fancy about this, just, daily life captured in an image, which is what I really enjoy.
So this is the Taos Pueblo church, and it was photographed by Ansel Adams. One of his famous photographs was of this place. And this is when I had first invented the Kodachrome II recipe. So this is not a new picture. It's in New Mexico. But I really love the way that it rendered the colors of the scene. It just was so perfect for it.
Yeah, I think we can move to the next picture. Here we go. And again, just colors that are like, to me, it's one of those images that really takes you back a little bit. This could have been created quite some time ago. It looks timeless, yet a bit retro. So I really enjoy this about this recipe as well. And I think this brings us to the end of our images. Paul's asking, how do you select which recipe to use for a given location?
Yeah, that's a tough question. It's a great question. In film, you had to make those decisions before you loaded the camera. You had to think about how the conditions were going to be, how the lighting was going to be, and choose which film you thought would best match. And the great thing about Fujifilm cameras in the digital age is that you can switch on a dime. You don't have to take 36 exposures before you switch. But it's still, you have to make the decisions of what is the lighting, what are the colors, is this recipe going to match it? And the best way is to get experience with it. And that's what's great about what we're doing here, is that we're asking you to shoot with a recipe for a month, and that gives you the experience to know, when is this recipe good, when is it not? And then in the future, when you encounter a situation, you have that experience to know, oh yeah, that recipe is great for this condition, or oh, I tried it in a similar condition and it didn't produce that great of results. So a lot of it just comes from experience.
I love that, how you wrapped that up and how you brought that show into the answer of this. It's really nice. Excellent. And we've got another question from Vernon, who's asking, is there a Fuji 400H recipe for weddings, and can we shoot an entire wedding with a recipe?
There is, if you have, I believe it's compatible with the X Pro 3 and newer. If you have an X Pro 3 or newer camera, then there is a great recipe. How can you shoot the whole wedding? Maybe it kind of depends on the lighting situation. If there's like if it's an indoor wedding and there's some artificial light, it may cause it to turn yellow. So in the film days, you had either daylight balance film or tungsten balance film, and a lot of times you would use a color filter to either warm it or cool it to try and match changing lighting conditions. In today's cameras, we have like auto white balance. So if you find that the recipe is not working for the light in the scene, it's okay to change the white balance to make it work. So don't be afraid if it calls for daylight and the light is strange to change it to tungsten or auto or something like that to get the results that you want.
At this point in time, there is no straight out of camera police. So
no,
you're not
that I'm aware
you're
of.
not gonna get incarcerated if you tweak images. But I think we're all really keen to see what viewers have uploaded and shared with us. So we've prepared a slideshow to look at that, and we want to give a shout out to everyone. So I think we'll bounce between the two of us, Ritchie, and just go through these images.
Sure.
And so people are more than welcome to comment. And if you are watching, please let us know so that we can give a shout out to you. And thank you for participating. So over to you, Ritchie.
Oh yeah, this picture, I love the red. How it rendered the reds in this picture is just absolutely wonderful. And that's what strikes me the most about this image is just those great reds.
Yeah, and we want to just give a shout out to Space Cadet. I assume he or she is South African because it's a South African scene that I recognize. So thank you so much for uploading. And then we have at TK Photo SZ. I assume is the Instagram handle. Thank you for uploading the images of this beautiful cat. I love first of all, the tones in the image. And then for me, it also shows it's like cats are not easy to photograph and you need to quickly grab your camera and grab a shot. So to me, this shows that you have your camera with you everywhere and it makes your everyday photography with this recipe so much easier. So thank you so much for sharing this image with us.
Oh, look at that. That's some great light, great use of light. And I love the leading lines of the shadows that I guess from the doorway that go from the bottom corners and in and draw you into, and then you discover the person that's there. I just really love this image. And you can see that the recipe served it really well.
Yes. So a big shout out to Thomas for sending that image. And then we have Will, who shared this image with us, who, maybe it's his home or maybe it's a place that he visited. It's definitely a beautiful image. I love the desaturated colors in this, and the ducks in the foreground just pull it out the ballpark for me. So thank you so much for your submission.
So this one is Hein, I think is how you pronounce that. And the to come across the group of horses running along the ocean is, you know, you would have to grab your camera. You know, if you didn't have it with you, you would be kicking yourself. And but what makes this image work for me is the dog in the water on the bottom left. That brings that drama. He's running towards the horses. There's adventure. Yeah, such a great picture. I love this one.
And then thanks to Paul for your submission. Go and grow. I absolutely love this. First of all, it's a really cool image. And I love this message, which I feel like it's like for all of us, it's like go and shoot straight out of camera and grow with the process. So I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for submitting your image.
We're all growing on this journey together, and that's what's great. Yeah. And then Craig captured this basketball hoop, and you know, it's just ordinary things. You know, you might maybe at the park or around your home can be great photography subjects, and especially in dramatic lighting, which obviously it was either early morning or late evening when this was captured, and it just looks so good. I like the composition of it being kind of tilted on an angle, causing a little bit of uncomfortableness or uneasiness about it, but it's just so good how the light is lighting up the basketball hoop itself. Yeah.
And then we have a submission from Adnan. This image, I saw it and I was totally blown away by the fact that obviously this has been taken recently, but there is this timelessness about the picture that in this mood that it's shot, it could be, it takes me back into the 60s. I think it really is a picture that has this mood to it that could have been taken on film. So thank you. I really enjoy that a lot.
Oh, and here we get the greens of summer that Paul Simon sang about when he was saying about Kodachrome. And I think it was this era of Kodachrome, the Kodachrome II era, that he actually sang about. And Andrew was able to get those greens of summer that Paul wrote and sang about in this image, and it really shows it.
And then we have a submission from Walker. I absolutely love this mountain range. And again, I want to just say, in case this image is blowing out on your screen, it definitely isn't. I've seen it on the computer. It is a wonderful image. And I don't know where this is. Maybe Walker is watching and can tell us where he's taken this image, but it's a wonderful mountain range. It must have been absolutely spectacular being up there. So thank you for sharing.
Then Stuart, a lovely day for Guinness. Yeah, I bet it was. It looks like it was. And, what's great, though, is the bird in this picture with all the colors in it and everything. The mural being colorful was a great choice to point your camera at. And this recipe did a great job of capturing the yellow and the pole in the forefront and on the bird and the red. It just all comes together really well.
Hello, DJ. Thank you for sending your love from Baltimore. It's absolutely wonderful to have you with us. And even if I get ahead of myself, but I know that you've also submitted an image. So thank you so much for that already. And thanks for tuning in. But we're looking at the picture of Stefan, who sent us this image, which I absolutely adore. And I get those timeless 1960s look pictures, which again, this I think it's the yellow of this concrete that reminded me of the fact that could be like a movie scene, and I'm expecting a lady to walk up these stairs with like a pink full bodysuit and a bathing cap with flowers on it or something. How you used to wear it in the 60s, but I guess my imagination is getting carried away with me there. But I absolutely love this image as well. Thank you so much, Stefan.
Oh, this is a great vista. You see, your eyes are first drawn to the town or city or buildings that are down there, and the countryside and all the trees. But what you come to notice after you kind of explore the image is down at the bottom left, there's a couple of people just hanging out, just chilling on the wall, and it looks like just a wonderful place to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, a great image indeed. As is this one, which Björn sent, and I think he's also watching. Thank you so much for sharing this picture with us. I absolutely love it. It's so nice the way you've captured the scene with the shadows and and the message in there. It's really wonderful. Well done. Thank you.
Yeah, and so I guess the recipe can do really well in different lighting scenarios, and in natural light it shines, and it can do well under artificial light or indoor light. And yeah, that's a great thing about this recipe is it's very versatile in that way, and this picture demonstrates that for sure.
Yes, and if I can just also add, because I think someone asked earlier if you can use flash with your film simulations, and I think this picture is a great showcase for that. That obviously there are no restrictions on how you use those recipes at all. And I think it's Gerd who sent this picture. It's a wonderful scene, a wonderful German scene. It's maybe from Munich. And yeah, I love the feel that you get from this picture and the colors, and again these desaturated colors. And yeah, thank you. Great capture.
Oh, now I want to go to the beach. Magnus was obviously there recently, and you get that bright summer feel, kind of. The colors being slightly desaturated, really lends itself to this. If you're using Velvia or something like that, it would just be overwhelmingly vibrant. And but to tone that down with a recipe like Kodachrome II is a really good solution to that, and it worked out well in this case for sure.
Oh, and then we have a comment from Frank who says, "Thank you very much for giving photographers so nice comments to their pictures. I love Fuji X Weekly. I love what Ritchie does for the Fujifilm community. All thumbs up and greetings from Ostfriesland in Germany." Thank you, Frank.
Well, thank you, Frank.
So much. Right back at you.
Yeah, that's it's so nice. We're all in this community together, and it is a true community. That's what's great about it. I don't know if this really exists. We're talking about a brand of camera. I don't know if this really exists in other brands like it does in Fujifilm. It's just such a great thing.
Yeah, well, I definitely love the journey that I've had with this brand and in the community, and I'm really, really happy that we are able to do this. And I'm very grateful to you, Ritchie, that you take so much time and effort to share this and be here with me. It's really, really wonderful. But I'm getting totally sidetracked and too excited. We have Henning's submission. He is also capturing a scene here in Germany because on the sign it says Lebensgefahr, which means like danger of life, I guess. And there's a man falling in something. And again, we're looking at the greens, these really awesome greens, which are maybe a little bit too nice compared to the sign that is in the scene. So I love the paradox of what we're looking at. So really nice image.
Yeah, so photography is often about light and shadow, and to be able to isolate the subject in an area where it's bright and then have everything else dark, removes those distractions. And so this is a really good use of light in photography, and the recipe lends itself being contrasty to making those blacks look black. So I'm probably going to mess up the name. Ionette. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that, but that, it's a great use of light.
Yes, and more great use of light and shadow is in this picture from Ricardas, who submitted this very moody and this very not contradictory picture, but you have this very subdued cross on the one side and then the bright green plants on the other, and the spider webs. So a very, very interesting scene indeed. Thank you so much for sending this through.
And DJ sent this picture, submitted this picture that's just got those blues in it. I love about this recipe. And I can't say that enough, that it does good for reds and yellows, but what I love the most is the blues, and that's what you get here is the blues and a little hint of yellow on the low light on the bridge, and it's really nice.
Yes. We love the blues, and we don't stop there because we have more here. The blues and the green of the ocean, and again, it's a timeless scene that Stefan has captured here. It could be now, it could have been 20 years ago, or maybe 40. I think is really cool, and this cloud is just so ominous out there in the distance. Well captured.
Well, that's so Kurt captured this image and submitted it, and that boot in the window is what to me makes this. Obviously, that's what he saw. It's very comical. And, just an ordinary scene, people probably pass this, 100 times. They don't think anything of it, but Kurt, saw what was interesting about it and was able to capture it. And I love it. Yeah.
And then we are looking at a picture from Vo. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Sorry, we are trying our best, but since we are talking to the world, we have different names and different cultures. I think it's Vo Te Kiet, but I'm not sure. But we're looking at this plant in this pot, and this red really jumps out at you. So yeah, a really nice use of the different colors in this image as well. And here, Bokeh Obscura says, Ritchie said my Fuji camera collection was nice enough.
Oh,
okay. There is a story behind that, Ritchie. I was going to submit some photos, but after watching these, I was out of my league. No.
Definitely not out of your league. No, don't think that at all. Definitely submit, and don't be afraid of that. You're not out of your league for sure. So yeah, definitely submit a picture.
Please do. And this is yours, Ritchie. Or this
okay,
is
yeah. Dimitri, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So you look at this. We talked about how sometimes it looks like it's from a different era. If the clothes were different, you would almost think that this was from a whole different year than 2021 for sure. Mm. And you just that vintage vibe just flows out of this recipe, and you can really see that in this picture.
And talking about colors, I think it's Frick, but I'm not 100% sure. So forgive me if I mispronounce your name. I love having the blue, the green, and the red in this picture, and then a hint of yellow all in one. I absolutely love those tones, and my eyes keep bouncing around this picture. So yeah, really well captured.
So this one was submitted by Thomas, and again, we got this great, highlight and shadow play. The capturing the drama of the scene here. It makes it interesting, and just those vintagey colors that just come out. It makes it look very Kodachrome-esque, like vintage Kodachrome-esque. Yeah, it looks great. Thanks, Thomas.
Oh, yes, absolutely, and And that brings us to the end of the submissions. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who submitted. I was completely overwhelmed by so many people sending through their pictures. So thank you. Also, some of you submitted more than one picture, which is obviously fabulous. And Ritchie and I are the great benefactors of that. We had a great look at all of them. Due to time, we can't share every single image. But if you submit images, we will definitely show at least one of your images that you share with us. We guarantee you that. And we don't want to stop you in sharing more than one photograph. It's great that you're so enthusiastic about this. But yeah, we see how we can maybe share those differently.
And I want to echo that, it was so great to see everybody's pictures, and I am just very appreciative of everybody who did submit one and shared it. It was a great joy to be able to go through those.
Yes, and talking about joy, I am overjoyed because we are throwing a little bit of Fuji color into the mix. We have, as we have seen, a lot of us have mastered Kodachrome to the point that we've had a lot of fun using it, and I think it's time to move on to some other colors and experiment with Fuji Color C200. And since we are speaking with the master here, I want to ask Ritchie if you can share a few thoughts on this recipe to give a little bit of background on this.
Sure. So I didn't actually make this recipe. It was George Cody. He sent it to me. Well, he wanted to create this recipe. And he says, well, he made an attempt at it. And he said, well, I think this is close. And I said, well, maybe make these adjustments. And I think this is maybe a little closer. We kind of went back and forth on that. And then he did something that was really great. And he took a film camera and the Fujifilm camera and put them side by side. And he took pictures using the actual film. And then he took pictures with his Fujifilm camera. And then he went back through and very carefully and meticulously got his Fuji camera to match the results that he got from his film camera. And when he sent me the results of that, it was nearly impossible to tell which was which. It looks so close to the film. And if there's any recipe that maybe looks the closest, I get that question, what recipe is the closest to film? This one, it might be that one. This one might be the absolute closest. And he did such a great job of mimicking it with his Fujifilm camera. It's such a great recipe. And it's really an honor that he allowed me to share it and allowed me to put it on the website and the app and everything. So yeah, thanks, George, for all your hard work on this and for sharing it with the Fujifilm community. Yeah, it's a really, really good all-around recipe. It does have the limitation that it's only compatible with the XT4, the XS10, and the XE4. But you can make some small modifications and use it on your X100V and X Pro 3. It's in the website, and that's a good thing. We talked about the notes in the app. Another way you can use it is for this recipe. You can make those small adjustments to it to make it for those cameras. So if you have an X100V or if you have an X Pro 3, just make those small adjustments. Put those in the notes section so you know what the adjustment is. I think it's just shadow and highlight is the only thing that's different. So if you have an X Pro 3 or an X100V, you set highlight to 0 and shadow to -1, and it is very, very close.
So obviously these are some limitations. I also know that some viewers have used slightly different settings to adapt to their cameras. Yes. Maybe there are some other workarounds that we can get to over this month. The reason why we thought it was great to go with this recipe is going from Kodachrome, which is definitely a film that is no longer available, can't be shot anymore, can't be found, can't be developed, to Fujifilm C200, which is a film that you still find today in the shops. And I'm proud to say that I own a roll of film as well. I got so excited about it that I had to buy it. It's available worldwide. It's a very common film. It's also compared to Kodachrome, which was, is it right to say, more of an refined film? Kodachrome Fuji Color C200 is a very easily available, affordable film for everyday use.
Kodachrome was considered more of a professional film, while the C200 is more of a consumer film, which means that it's also, affordable. So if somebody out there has been wanting to try film photography but hasn't, I mean, this is a good film to start with. Yes. Kodachrome, obviously, like you said, you can't buy it, you can't develop it. It's gone. Unless Kodak brings it back, it's the only way to shoot it is to simulate it digitally.
Yes,
but C200 is readily available.
Yeah. So if you have any questions regarding this, if you want to adapt to your camera, then shout out. Don't hesitate. Send us a question. We'll make a plan and make sure that you produce some images that you can upload for the next show. But speaking of images, we've got some samples so that you get an idea as to how beautiful your images will look when you shoot in Fujicolor C200. And it's over to you, Ritchie. This is your image.
Yeah, this was captured in the spring. It was right a few steps from my house, park across the street, and just the vibrant colors of spring and the sky and everything. It just all came together really well for this image. But it gives you an idea of what this recipe will produce, especially when it comes to like pinks and reds and blues and stuff.
It's really pretty. And I shot this image not too long ago at a visit on a game farm. What I really enjoy about this recipe is the warm tone that it gives your images. And I was on this farm. It wasn't necessarily the best time of day to shoot photographs, so the light was really harsh. But I found that this recipe really lent itself to, enhance the scene and really bring out the reds in the street, in the road, as well.
And so this picture, you see the dramatic sky, and once again, it looks blown out on here, but it's not in real life. If you see the picture, it's not anything like that. I shot this to a fence. It's fenced off, so I couldn't get any closer, but just including like the red. I really was drawn to the red sand and gravel machinery there. Used the telephone, cell phone tower as a compositional element, but just how it renders like that red and even the greens and stuff, it works really well.
Yeah, I love that scene. It's like a really scenic, extremely scenic and picturesque for a factory.
Yeah.
And this is a lunch stop not too long ago. I think it's the first time I shot with Fujicolor C200, and I absolutely loved how it brought across the richness in food, and I really enjoyed that a lot.
This is just a typical neighborhood in Park City, Utah. It's got colorful buildings and picturesque and stuff. This was not any sort of special lighting or anything like that. It was probably close to noon, you can see that the colors look really good, even in the wrong kind of light.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I enjoyed about it as well. And even shooting wildlife at the wrong time of day, because I was on this game farm to visit friends, and I had an XS10 to try out. And yeah, I was able to get some great results as JPEGs as well. So I really, really enjoyed that a lot. And here's your opportunity again to take a screenshot if you haven't already. We would obviously love for you to join us again on this journey as we try out this new recipe. So you can screenshot this to get the QR code, to get the link, and hopefully soon share some of your images that you shot in Fuji Color C200 so that we can share them in the next show.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to all your guys' pictures. And so don't be afraid to submit. You know, even if you think, well, my picture's not good enough, whatever, please don't hesitate.
This is not, we are not critting images at all. Please don't get the wrong idea. We simply just want to share in this wonderful community what different kinds of recipes bring. And we want to include you in this journey because this is really as much for you as it is for everybody else and us and myself. We're all in this journey together and can't do without your images. So we want to hear from you. And if you have any questions, any other comments, or if you've asked any questions earlier that we haven't answered yet, please shout out to us. So we've got a little bit more time to answer those right now. And yeah, for everyone who submitted the images, thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful. I'm not quite sure if we have any more questions. We are. Melvin is just tuning back in. Where do I submit? Thank you for asking again. Thank you for tuning in. Melvin, there are, we will share a link again. Here is the slide one more time. Thank you guys for going back on the slideshow. You can take a screenshot of this. The QR code will take you directly to a Dropbox link, or you can note down the link here in this image. It's a Dropbox link. We shared a different kind of a link before. If you have that upload link worked for you, you are welcome to carry on using it. But we've also now made available this Dropbox link that you can use, so you can upload pictures there. And yeah, we can't wait to see what you come up with. Duva says, thanks for showing my photo. Duva, thank you for uploading.
Yes, thank you.
That's what this show is all about. And we hope you enjoyed the results that you got with the recipe. Tuta is asking to give the link in a comment. We will definitely do so. Okay. After the show, we will make sure that we send a link where people, so that you can just click and get to the link like that. We will definitely do that. And then we have Boca says, are these submitted to JPEGs only? I feel like in RAW, you can tweak the color and other settings to where it's not a true simulation anymore. Thoughts? Yeah, I do think we've talked about this quite a bit already. We would like for you to submit JPEGs. But if you want for yourself, if you still want to change and tweak the image, you can do so. Just my personal thought is on tweaking color. We are all kind of looking at what kind of results you get with the recipes. So I feel we should all try to see what we get with the recipe first, and then you can share those images with us. If you want to tweak raw files, you're obviously more than welcome to do so as well. I don't know, do you have any more thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think for what people submit, what we would really like is if it's the straight out of camera JPEG, or maybe just very mildly edited, but still the JPEG. And then for yourself and your own photography, if you want to take the raw and put it in Capture One or Lightroom or something and have at it, that's great. what works for you, but for the show, we'd really like it to be as close as possible to the straight out of camera JPEG. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. If there aren't any more questions, then I think we can move on to our lucky draw. We must say thank you to Ritchie for being so generous and to put up a subscription of 12 months to his Fuji X Weekly app. Ritchie's been so kind as to give away one, as well as Fujifilm South Africa. So we have lots of prizes to give away in the upcoming shows. Tonight we are going to give away one subscription to one of the awesome people who've submitted their pictures. So here's another great incentive to share your images with us. And what we've done is we've taken all the names of people who've submitted and we put them on our very funky, colorful wheel of fortune here that we're going to spin. And whoever's name comes up will be our lucky winner this evening. So let's all cross fingers. And I think, should we spin the wheel, Ritchie?
Yeah, let's give it a spin. See who wins.
Okay, crossing my fingers for everyone. And we have our winner. It's Adnan Omanovic. Adnan, you are our winner for this evening. I hope you are watching. If you are, you can send us a comment in the comment section so we can give you a big shout out, which would be wonderful. But it is not necessarily a requirement that you are watching, because we want to make sure that you submit images, and we want to appreciate you for doing so. And so Adnan, he is maybe not watching this evening,
and that's okay.
But maybe if you are watching the show later on, you will see your name drawn right here. Mm-hmm. We will see that we can get in touch with you, or if someone is watching who knows him, can give a shout out. We will try and make contact to make sure that he knows that he won a prize this evening. And then we will get all the technicalities sorted out as well.
Yeah, so, and definitely congratulations. And if you see that you won, leave a comment or get in touch with us so that we can get the prize to you.
Yes, fantastic. And so this brings us to the end of the show. Again, Ritchie, we overshot our time. I can see that we have been speaking for almost an hour and a half again.
Yeah, we doubled our time that we were intending. I hope it was a good experience for everybody. I hope it was worthwhile, for everybody watching. And I hope everybody kind of learned something and had a good time, a good experience. And as we journey together, we really appreciate that you're here, and we really appreciate that you tuned in. And I want to thank you for your time.
Yes, I want to second that. It's been absolutely wonderful for everyone to be watching, and thank you for taking all this time out to be with us here this evening, or day or night, or whatever time it is where you're watching from. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Björn says, thanks both, great work, hoping to catch up with you both somewhere around the world. That would be absolutely wonderful.
That'd be wonderful.
Thank you so much. And Chili says, you guys can get in touch with him via Messenger. Thank you, Chili. We will definitely make sure to get in touch. I'm sure we will be able to contact him and make sure that he knows that he won this evening. Boca says, thank you. I'll have photos to submit next month.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Awesome. It's wonderful to hear that. Mark says, fantastic to you both. best wishes. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Stephen says, great watch. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Stephen. It's such a pleasure and honor. And
it really
thanks
is an
to everyone
honor.
who's been tuning in. It's been absolutely wonderful. And I need to give a big, big shout out again to you, Ritchie. This wouldn't be possible if you hadn't done a lot of groundwork for many, many years. And even though you are a very busy man, you still find time to be here this evening. I'm honored. It's absolutely wonderful to have you on this journey with us. It's phenomenal. And yeah, it's absolutely great that you're sharing so much from your world with all of us. We are blessed to have you in this community. Thank you.
I appreciate your kindness. Thank you. It means a lot. Thank you.
Fabulous. Well, then there's only one thing left to do, and that is to say goodbye. It's been wonderful to be here. I can't wait to do this again. We have our next show coming up in September. You can remember it's always the second Thursday of the month. We will be tuning in at 7 o'clock p.m. That is South African time. And it's been an absolute blast. Good night. Have a wonderful day. It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks, Nathalie.
Thank you so much, Ritchie. Until next month.
Bye.